Okay, so uh, this today was a very crazy day because I drove with my son-in-law to Monroe, New York, to pick up two paintings, and we weren't entirely sure of how to go, but more sure of how to get back. But and so I did pick up the two paintings. Got very tired doing this. Came back, took my nap in the afternoon, which I call an etch-a-sketch nap, which means that I start the day again after the nap. I go to sleep, I start the day again. So I hope I'll be in good form because I particularly like this artist. So tonight I thought we would deal with Paula Modersohn Becker. Um, Her dates are very short, 1876 to 1907. So she lives 31 years and she packs it into the 31 years. But, one could easily say, wow, what would she have done afterwards beyond 31 years of age? She was tremendously adventurous and really broached life with full, fulsome, open arms. And she did many, many works in 31 years. The productivity is incredible. So, Paula Madison Becker is an important 20th century German artist whose work was cut short at 31 years of age. So, there was an amazing show of her work at the Neue Gallery in Manhattan. Um, have you all, if could you raise your hand if you've ever been to that gallery? Okay, so a few of you haven't. Um, so this gallery is fascinating. It is the brainchild of a very, very well-to-do man named Ronald Lauder. So Ronald Lauder built this museum. It was, I think, the location of a, can't remember the name of this society. Um, I think it was a Jewish uh, Society for the Study of Jewish Affairs. Not 100% sure, but it's on 86th Street and Fifth Avenue. So he took this building and an architect, redesigned the interior of the building. So the exterior is the way it was, the interior is completely redesigned. And there's some fascinating work that happens with that type of design and architecture. So it has an old and a new part. I don't know how long that museum has been in existence. I'm going to guess 12, 14 years. And I think I've seen more exhibits there than any other museum in New York City. Um, so it was very interesting to see this exhibit there. Um, so usually I buy the catalog of all of these exhibits. So I might have 35 catalogs from this museum. So this is a rare example of a museum or a collection that is the result of really good taste. Okay. So there are very well-to-do people whose taste in art is very mediocre. This is really incredibly good taste. So that museum specializes in Austrian and German art. Okay, to some degree, it's Weimar art. So it would be, let's say, from 1890 to 1940, with some variations. Um, this museum, with all the people that work there, the guards and everything, um, cannot possibly be run at a profit. So I would say that every exhibit that they have is a loss. I mean, I don't know how to prove this, but it would be hard to believe that they could recoup the expenses for these exhibits. So, for instance, this exhibit of Paula Modersohn Becker, um, there might have been 80 or 100 pieces in the exhibit, and the pieces came from little areas in Germany or in Europe. To send art from Germany or Europe to the United States is so unbelievably expensive. Okay. If I was to try to send a picture of mine to Europe, it would be prohibitively expensive. Um, then not only is it the expense of sending the picture, there's also the insurance. And many times when paintings or drawings that are valuable are sent, they're sent with a person who travels with the art. Okay, a courier who travels with the art and either holds the art or is responsible for the art getting on the plane, getting off the plane. So um, this is an incredibly expensive operation. And all I could say is that the exhibits are incredible, and it almost seems like Mr. Lauder has a printing press in the basement where he simply prints up money to support this museum and endeavor. So this is the first time that Paula Madison Becker's work is presented in the United States. Okay, so he brought, or his committee, or whatever it is, I'm sure it's him. He brought all this work to the United States, and um, okay, I've seen sporadic work of hers every now and then, but not a whole exhibit like this. The first room at the Neue Gallery. How many of you saw that show? This show? Oh, great, great. Oh, terrific. So the first room at the Neue Gallery was devoted to drawings of her work. Now, this presented a problem for me. I mean, it wasn't really a problem. The drawings are wonderful, very striking. But they mandated in this exhibit for the first time that they did not want you to take photographs. Okay. So I couldn't figure out, to do it on the sly, whatever. I was actually almost taking out a camera to do it, and a guard came running up to me, and so didn't know what to do. Um, so taking a photograph from a book is really not as good as taking a photograph from an actual work of art. Lo and behold, our friend Chuck here traveled to Chicago to see the very same exhibit. And there, I assume that they didn't have a prohibition about photographs. So I said to Chuck, would you do me a favor and take pictures of this, and on. And he, with very good humor, he wrote back to me and he said, um, this has a little shadow here, this has a little shadow here, you have to excuse me and so forth. In any case, the photos are great and thank you. That was great. Um, okay, so the first room that I saw were a room of incredibly rich charcoal drawings um, that she does in or near an arts colony. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Wurpswede in the north of Germany, in near Bremen. And she does these drawings of people she encounters in this world. So the drawings are very rich and big, and they are the the drawing equivalent of a painting. Okay, and when I saw the drawings that Chuck sent, I almost had an urge to end that section with a few drawings of my own, which had some relationship to these. Um, but I got distracted and didn't do it. And I almost feel a little reluctant to be part of this, but it is true. Um, so the drawings are very modern, as are the paintings. And they attempt to depict the full measure of a human being. Okay, that's a very interesting statement. The full measure of a human being. Um, there is a beautiful essay. Um, I'll see if I could find a link to it. It's an essay by D.H. Lawrence called "Why the Novel," and it's about 6 pages long. It's very easy to read. So Lawrence in this essay compares a human being to a novel. So he says that there is a connection, and I think what he means is that the novel contains the full measure of a human being. So this is a certain kind of drawing. This is not a quick sketch. This is very weighty and committed drawing. Um, okay, so the paintings and drawings are both figurative and abstract. Um, I think maybe more the paintings are abstract or abstracted. Um, the paintings are lushly painted, thick and weighty in paint. So if you looked at the paintings closely, you could see that she used a lot of paint, and the paint is weighty. Um, the paintings and actually the drawings are very blunt, and they have a muscular quality to them. Apart that, one thing that's very interesting about her is that her work is very influenced by modern and modernist artists, artists such as Gauguin, Cezanne, Matisse, Van Gogh. So she travels from this arts colony to Paris, lives in Paris, discovers these artists, and these artists have a big influence on her. Um, the name of the show was called Ich bin ich, and it 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 means it the it means that she is attempting to find out who she is. Okay, she's attempting to find out her identity, and whether this is in the work or it's supra to the work, I think it's very interesting. And it's not unusual for a woman of that time or even now to explore this. Um, and so her life is full of push and pulls about being a woman and being someone's wife, being an artist, finding herself. Um, and she is married to an artist, Otto Modersohn, and um, she finds herself wanting to fulfill her life and devote herself to art. and to really studying art. Um, and she's torn between that wish and the wish to be someone's wife and to have a child. And there's a lot of tension there in that direction. So she writes a letter to the poet Rilke, and she says, "And now I don't even know how I should sign my name. I'm not Modersohn, and I'm not Paula Becker anymore." In 1906, she writes, "Now I have left Otto Modersohn, and am standing between my old life and my new one. I wonder what the new life will be like, and I wonder what will become of me in my new life." So I believe that she ends up having a child, and because of the complications of pregnancy, ends up having embolisms and passes away virtually because of the childbirth. So it's both a life of quest and a life that is poignant and sad. Um, so I thought I'd start with the drawings, which I have a whole bunch of them uh, to show you. So let me see. Okay, so the drawings are really stunning and really carried to an extreme limit. And this drawing, for instance, to me, this drawing looks a great deal like Kate Colvitz. Um, in fact, I think the first time I saw this, I thought it might be Colvitz. Um, I think that this drawing is earlier than Colvitz, but it's the same idea and very deep and involved and weighty. Beautiful use of charcoal and um, I don't think this drawing was very large at all. Um, and the drawing was the underpinning of her art. Okay. This is the second one. Uh, these drawings, many of them are quite large. So this drawing could have been 3, 4 feet, maybe more in height. Um, so by the drawing equivalent of a painting, um, the light and the lushness of the charcoal would be the equivalent of a painting. A number of years ago, when I did these or began doing these types of drawings, very few artists in the United States drew like that. Um, usually, drawings were um, the predecessors of paintings or studies for a painting. So the idea that drawing could be taken this far is not a usual way of thinking of drawings. Um, okay, I think that these were people that she met, maybe farmers or peasants or working class types that she met and asked them to pose for her. I think that this is a the wife, the wife and husband that are paired together. Um, the use of the medium is very striking. It's very textured and rich and very serious. I think that this man coming up is this woman's husband. I see a certain connection here with Van Gogh and modern directions in art.
Excuse me, am I the only one that lost the audio?
No, 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 I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Have
Oh,
you? Okay. So there are many of these drawings, and actually, in the 31 years of her life, many paintings and uh, a production, a production maybe in the same realm as Van Gogh. Very, very many works. Someone wanted to say something.
Yeah, is this charcoal also?
Yes, yes, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in terms of how a drawing could be the equivalent of a painting, if you see the light on this child's rib cage,
Mhm.
even the halftones in her head, and the light and dark in her leg, in the upper part of her leg, this is carried to a extreme degree. This is not quickly done. I mean, it might be quickly done, but I don't think it is. So it's pretty obvious in these drawings that she believed in the art of drawing, and she was really working at this.
Simon, these are so superior to any that were reproduced in the certainly in the Post article about her.
Well, this is because of Chuck. Uh,
They're terrific.
these are really nice reproductions. Um, and eh, you know, it's very hard to take photographs of works of art. They lose in the photograph. So when I'm looking at a photograph that's in a book, it really flattens out. Even these flatten out, but you can sense the richness. You can sense the richness of them. So whenever it's possible, it's always great to see the work in person.
Yeah, unfortunately, Simon, some of these, well, the last one that you showed and a couple of others, you can also see the art on the opposite wall because there was no way to avoid those reflections.
I wouldn't. These are excellent. I mean, these are really full of life. Um, so let's take a look at this. So in this one, um, this shadow area here helps you understand the light that's here. This shadow area here helps you understand all the light that goes into here. Same thing up here. So she's pulling the figures out of this light. And it, the drawings are not slick. They show a lot of heart and heat, and they're not super correct. They're struggling to figure this out. Um, so to me, they have a great deal of life in them, and wonderful to see. I never saw so many of these, and so many of the paintings, for that matter.
Simon, when you are talking about the drawings having the quality of paint, is that um, particular to charcoal that you're talking about, that people don't usually use charcoal as a medium to refine their work like she is?
Uh, No, what I mean is that the drawings have um, light in them, light
Right,
light and dark in them, the way a painting, a
right,
certain kind of painting might have.
right.
The weight of a painting is particular to a painting, and drawings have variations. Some drawings are very light and quick and sketchy. Then some drawings have more involvement. Some drawings are studies for paintings. These drawings seem to look to me like they're drawings for the sake of drawing, period. They don't have they're not a means to an end. And so in this drawing, for instance, the way she pulls the figure out of this light,
Mhm.
it feels like some of the thoughts that would animate a painting.
Okay. And if someone does that, if other people do that with their drawings, do they, is it unusual to use charcoal? Is
No,
charcoal,
no,
okay,
I don't think it's unusual because charcoal gives a very strong tone and fairly quickly to a page. And it, there are artists that use pencil to do the same thing, but pencil is slightly cooler and slightly thinner, whereas this is a fairly thick material. Um, I'm curious, I don't want to put you on the spot, but Alan, you said you saw the exhibit. Um, what did you make of these drawings?
Terrific, actually.
What?
And I guess what blew me away as I guess I walked, it was early in the exhibit with these two figures that were pretty much life size,
Yes, yes,
a man and a woman.
yes, the farmer.
And yeah, and I thought those were, and they were also charcoal as
Yeah,
well.
this woman, I think.
No, these were nudes, I think, or close to it.
Uh,
Um,
was it this
and
woman?
they were sort of facing each other.
Yeah. Was it this man?
No,
No. Huh.
it, it was very early in the exhibit.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
Not much.
Remember. Um, do you related to the drawings?
Yeah, no, well, just for, obviously the size of it was, immense, but it was just, it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
And the shading, well, I guess even like the one you had just shown us, the light just kind of pops out at you, the portions of light.
yeah, yeah. This is another one, and this is yet another. I sense that in all these drawings, she's trying to find the particular spirit of each of these people. Um, so then, as the exhibit continued, I put this together in terms of a few different categories. One category struck me as self-portraits. So um, these are some. These are quite small. I would say they're about 10, 12, 14 inches in the biggest size. This one very thickly painted. So this one, I believe, is a painting of her husband, who is also a painter, mostly a landscape painter. And this one is the poet Rilke, who was a friend of her and her girlfriend, who I think he ends up marrying. There's another part.
This,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
this photograph is so good that you can in fact see the texture of the paint and
Yes,
how it
yes,
is.
really is good. Um, there is an interchange between Rilke and um, Paula Modersohn Becker. Uh, I don't know enough about Rilke to completely understand this, but in this interchange, uh, my take is that he is warning her about having a relationship and a child in terms of wanting to be an artist. And um, perhaps it's a very patronizing letter to her, um, but it, it's a letter that isn't that unusual if you think of the history of women uh, right up to today. And and he writes without uncertainty about she's making a mistake because he's responded to her work and I think he thinks her work will be undermined by the direction that she's chosen, which is to return to her husband and have a child. And well, it's definitely somewhere in all of this work. Where, I'm not sure, but it's somewhere in there. Um, this painting is very slightly out of focus, but this painting was in the exhibit and very small. I would say maybe 6 by 6 inches or 7 by 7 inches. Um, the paintings are very abstracted um, and blunt and have a certain force to them. Very interested in children and depicting children. Beautiful eyes in this one, and very much painted. This is not thin. All of her work is really not thin, very much painted.
Mm.
Well, just to continue the theme of women and fine arts, I don't think that a woman in this period of time could go to an art school. There were special schools for women to learn about art, or she chose to study with various individuals. But I don't think there were schools for women, and a very antagonistic relationship to them. This was a wonderful painting, this one here, very surprising, very offbeat to me. This painting has a little glare in it, but I believe that this painting, the model for this painting, comes back in one or two other paintings that are coming up. I think this was someone who lived in the town, and maybe she connected it with a story, a children's story. Here you can really see the paint, and um, and you can see the weave of the canvas, and it has a certain blunt force to it. It looks to me like it's painted with a palette knife and very thickly applied and very passionately applied.
Simon, that the previous painting,
Yeah, this one,
um,
this one.
yes, I feel like I've seen that before. Have you shown it to us, or is that?
No, no, because we never spoke about her.
Huh.
Um, I don't think so, but maybe I'm mistaken. Let me give some thought to this.
Or maybe I've seen it someplace that I'm not
Maybe,
remembering.
maybe. Um, now this one was on exhibit, and I looked at this very carefully, and it was a wonderful painting. It was like so sensual, and the paint and the rotation of the paint was so striking in this one. You could see the influence of Gauguin and Van Gogh and a certain kind of modernist direction in art. Here's another still life, and I would bet that a better photograph would show the paint to look like that, or maybe slightly less, but in that direction. I keep thinking of the willpower that this woman had and the tenacity and drive. It looks to me like this woman that I mentioned before makes another appearance in this painting. I I can't help but think this is some type of folk story that she's thinking about in here. She does a series of nudes, and I found a grouping of these, and that mixed in with Chuck's photographs of these coming up. I think that her work had hundreds of paintings and hundreds of drawings in the 31 years. Really astonishing.
Did she have a model for the children that she painted?
Uh, it would be my hunch that she did, and I don't know, I can't say if she used the model when she did the painting, but most probably there's a drawing for these. These are very abstracted forms. These could have been done from memory or the drawing, possibly a photograph, but no, I don't think a photograph, but memory of the drawings and possibly some studies from life. This one I'd never seen before, and this is very striking, very moody. So these paintings border on expressionism, and I think they're very strong. Last class, I mentioned that I thought there was some connection between Antonio Lopez Garcia and Frida Kahlo, and someone asked me what I thought the connection was, and I had difficulty elaborating it. To make things matter even, to even more complicate the situation, I would throw her in too. I would say that there's something that connects the three of them. In this one, in the painting, you can really feel the paint in the woman and even in the child and in the cloth that is below them. And the painting, the paint rotates in a way that makes the form turn, but it's it's somewhat different than a Renaissance rendering. This is
Simon, what do you mean when you say
flatter,
that it rotates?
rotate. In other words, the way this rotates this way, like this,
Okay.
she's taking you on a ride like this, and she's pulling your eye to move like that.
Mm,
And this way, it's going like this, like this, like this, and this way, like that.
okay. Yeah.
But it seems to me that it's not the way a Renaissance artist would do this. It's somehow more modern, more shape oriented.
Mm,
Oh, and here you can even feel this movement,
right. Right.
this movement.
Mm.
These are
So
very these paintings are very striking, and it's amazing to see all of this work in New York City, and for that matter in Chicago.
in sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
In this painting, that textured, how does she do that? That feel of all the texture.
I think I would say that this is probably painted a lot with a palette knife and maybe brushed over it. Um, uh, that would be my guess. Um, but it's just a guess. I'm not totally sure, but that would be a good guess.
This is
So this is the last painting that I have in this display of her work, and this is probably maybe the most well-known of her paintings. And now I don't know. I think she is actually pregnant here,
Yeah.
and actually I think that this is maybe the first self-portrait nude of a woman painter, and the first self-portrait nude and pregnant of a woman painter. She's I think, a very striking artist. And so if I was to think of more qualities that unite her work, Frida Kahlo and Lopez, I would say very highly personal, idiosyncratic, paintings that had to be done, that ostensibly don't look like they have a commercial side to them. They're done to be done. And unclassifiable, unclassifiable. So all these words came to me, not when they should have come to me last week, but over the course of about 5 or 6 days, I started to think about what I said, and I felt like I could back it up a little bit. So any comments from you, especially people who haven't said anything? Um, um, I, I,
Um,
Anna, Anna, do you, I'll get to you, Kathy, but Anna, do you have something to
Yeah.
say?
Well, I think what you said about identity and her pursuit of identity is really, really interesting in terms of these paintings where there's so many self-portraits, but also the children, and it feels like the children are probably people who are important to her, that there's something about her relationships, her family, that she's really working through. And I just think her work is absolutely stunning. I mean, just all of it. And the painting and the drawings are in some ways different from each other because in the painting there's all this color and experimentation, where the drawing you've just got that black and white and a little bit of gray and shadow and light. So they're intriguing that way.
I totally agree. And in some ways the drawings are straighter and the paintings take maybe more liberties, but the drawings are so serious and so involved that I found myself just swept away by them. I thought that opening room was terrific, really terrific. Kathy, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, that the drawings and the paintings almost look like two different artists did them.
Yeah.
I see a big influence with Gauguin in a lot of her paintings. And yeah, I mean, I like them. I like both series, but I feel they're so different. They're so different. The going back to the one with the couple, was that done? It was charcoal, but was that done on canvas, charcoal on canvas? I was looking at the edges of the piece and I said, that doesn't look like paper. I just was curious.
All right, let's go back to that. It's an interesting
Farmer and yeah.
Yeah, this one.
To me, it almost looked like it was canvas removed from the stretcher strips. I don't know.
Well, it's in this book, which is to my left, and I would hesitate to try to find it.
Oh, that's okay.
My instinct is it's on paper, and maybe it's paper mounted onto something.
Oh, okay.
My instinct is this is paper as well.
If I remember from looking at them closely, I think that's right.
Who is speaking?
Chuck.
Sorry, this is Chuck.
Okay. Uh, Anne Marie, do you have a thought about this?
I was looking at, I think there was one that really did remind me of Antonio Lopez, and I can't quite remember where. Like it had a dreamlike effect
Yeah,
um, in it. And so I thought, yeah, there is some kind of something else going on there. Um,
I thought of one more thing about what I feel connects these three artists. Um, kind of primitive imagery or primitive um, force, force, or
uh,
primitive magnetism that
mm,
that goes goes in front of everything. So an aura that comes through, and I really like that.
that
I,
could be related to Frida Kahlo too,
yes,
that
yes,
primitive force. Yeah.
yeah. Um, uh, Jason, did you have a thought? Uh, you have to mute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I didn't know about her, so I did a little research. And you're right, she's the first woman artist to do a self-portrait nude and also pregnant. But what I didn't realize is that as I was reading about her, the name was in my mind, and it turns out I checked, she has a museum named after her.
yes,
And I was wondering if
yes.
in France, I wonder if you or anybody has actually visited it.
No, but I'm very interested in that. I only realized it in exploring her for for this class. But I think is the exhibit in Bremen? Is the museum in Bremen?
I think it was, I don't remember where it was,
Yeah,
but
but it is a museum of her work,
yeah,
and
and it's and apparently the first museum named after a woman artist of her own
yes,
work.
yes, yes,
Those
and
are-
also
yeah.
before I spoke to Chuck about doing this, which was he was very nice to do it. I tried to find images of the drawings on the internet, and usually I can find them, but I couldn't find them for her. So what does that indicate? It indicates probably the internet is new to appreciating her work. So there aren't huge amounts of her work on the internet. Then I thought, I wonder if that museum had images of the drawings. And then I got distracted. And then Chuck wrote to me and said, I'm going to Chicago. Could I help you? And I said, absolutely, this would be great. Um, did you find that anything else that struck you as interesting
Well,
about?
yeah, the way her style of painting, she actually used wet paint, oil, and tempera, and I read she actually scratched into it. It
Yes,
could have
I
been by
see.
hand or palette knife. That was interesting. And
I
she was
see.
described her painting as realism. And apparently later on, she started painting with my pronunciation be wrong, of the Favre School of
Yes,
painting,
yes,
FAUV, yeah.
yes.
Which it was interesting because I haven't seen the name pop up in a long time. And my question to you, can you tell us a little bit about that school and how it related to her?
Uh, I really can't. I can't draw this up now.
Okay.
But the idea that she painted into the wet paint, I think it's thick paint, and she painted maybe with the back of her brush, uh, drawing lines, rotating the form. That's very interesting, really interesting. But there's something about the form and the paint, the application of the paint, that seems to me very modern. And I find that I would like to know much more about her and her life. And this was a real treat seeing these works of hers. Um, Jackie, what about you? I can't hear you.
I do see that one piece of work looks very different from another, You know, she has lots of influences. There are some works where the eyes have the most wonderful, intense expression.
Yes,
Other works where the light is playing on a specific part of the body for whatever reason. For some reason, thought of Andrew Wyeth.
a little bit, a little bit.
I know that that's not a compliment, but the kind of modeling, the modeling of Germanic features.
Yes,
So I see her working very hard in different ways.
yes. I mean, she should really be included in more discussions of uh, feminism and art and all of that. And this leads me to mention something that I also thought of during the week. Um, to me, the most important thing is this buzz that you feel, or the excitement, or the zing of the art. So um, to know something about her and to know the difficulties that she had, that's very interesting. But that's not, to me, the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind to me is what it is you're looking at. Okay. So, in other words, Jackie, in other words, to debate something or to prove something that that her life and the sociology of her life is tantamount. It doesn't strike me as that interesting. But if the first thing you see is the force of her work, the excitement of it, the buzz, the um, frisson,
Intensity.
the intensity, then the rest follows. Because you might say, well, where does that come from? You know, where does that come from? And, you know, you can imagine the push and pull in her life that created this. Okay.
I also wanted to ask you, as far as expressionism as a group of painters, was she early?
Early, yeah.
Early. So that's yet another reason that she should be recognized more widely.
Yes. She's just beginning to get recognition now, which is 120 after she passed away. So if you say that one part of being an artist is the ability to wait, so you know, we're talking about wait with a capital W, capital A, capital I, capital T. Okay, this is wait. Um, but I think she's terrific, really, really terrific, and very much her own person.
Simon?
Yeah, Ron.
I'm just blown away by the intensity of the characterizations of these people that, you know, we look at them and they look back at us. They are truly complete characters, complete human beings in ways that, you know, many of the artists that her work resonates with do not manage to capture.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. And to pass away at the age of 31 is that's a very young age. And the other artist, a real favorite of mine, who passes away at 31, is Seurat, the French artist Seurat, Seurat, and he also is unclassifiable, very much his own person, and very modern, and yet traditional.
Wow. The gods envied them.
That's a very good statement. I'd have to think about that one. That's very good. I really like that. Um, Len, what's your, can you add something to this?
Just picking up on that last thought, I just thought that Egon Schiele also died very
Yes.
young, as I recall. Paula, Modersohn, Becker, I find these drawings super compelling. The power, the energy. For me, my interpretation of her starts with the drawings, and just echoing some other folks' comments. I do find that the painting so different. You know, here in the drawings, there's an extraordinary focus on line and contrast and energy. And if I try to put myself inside her head as she's creating this, I feel like a great focus, you know, a laser energy. And then you look at the paintings, and I just imagine that she, in her head, she was just coming from a very different place, like she was taking in all of these different artists of the late 19th century and thinking about how her art fit within the context of all those other folks. But when I look at these drawings, I don't get that she's trying to be in the context of anyone else at all. Just herself.
I think you're absolutely right. And the interesting thing is, in terms of the paintings, I feel, where would she have gone? Because she was just getting started. Where would she have gone? Where would she have taken this? And it's a shame that someone loses her life. Uh, uh, and um, so anyway, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the first thing is what the art is sending you, what message the art is sending you. But the other part of this, I think, is very compelling and important, which is the role of a woman, the role of a woman painter, the dualities of that and the complexities of that in our world and especially in this world. This is not, like women should vote for a candidate because the candidate is for freedom. This is like we're down to the nitty gritty here of how she's going to exist as a woman, uh, and um, and this whole idea of her having a child and a great writer and poet writing to her and saying that he thinks she's making a mistake. Um, Now, that could be a very gratuitous statement or very patronizing statement, but as patronizing as it is, there's something to it. Um, and So she literally dies in childbirth, or a few days after.
Yep.
Kathleen, I didn't hear from you, or maybe I did, and I. Do
No,
want,
you hadn't heard.
want to add
Yeah.
something? You feel like adding?
Yes, I would. I find actually the drawings more compelling than her paintings. Not all of them, but especially there were a couple of women and one man. They do remind me of Wyeth, but they are individuals
Yes.
and they're very expressive compared to the paintings to me. can't think of the word, but well, they're simplified. They're just not as much individual.
Yes,
It's stock pictures come to mind, but that's not a good word. But the paintings look each one kind of similar, these round-faced people. And anyway, really am more moved by some of the drawings.
I think if you saw the show, you'd think maybe slightly differently, because the paintings are very gritty and forceful and uh, blunt, a kind of blunt force that they have. Someone had their hand up. Was that Jackie? Yeah.
I did, but given what you just said, I'm not sure my sweeping generalization is right. I was going to say that based on this slide presentation, the paintings look like they are aiming towards a more traditional beauty, whereas the charcoal, she's going for people and positions that might be considered ugly. She's taking them on anyway. She finds a beauty in the ugliness.
Yeah.
At
Well,
least an interestingness in the ugliness, yeah.
yes, very,
And
very
she
well.
doesn't put anybody, she doesn't seem to put her subjects down for being not classically beautiful.
Yes, yes. Um, um, she would be an interesting character to study. It would seem to me that there are a few threads in her life that don't quite come together, and she'd be an interesting example of a complicated woman. That's my take. I mean, if I was a writer, I would think this would be an interesting character to bring forward, and you could address it in a bunch of different ways.
Has your biography been written?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I have a book about her, but it's written in German. So,
Oh, okay, okay.
but I'm assuming because there's so much text, I'm assuming that must have some autobiography in it.
Yeah.
I did read some biographical stuff, and one of the stranger and more interesting things is when she married her husband, they did not consummate the marriage. And it was, the writer thought that maybe it was because his wife had died 2 or 3 years before, and he was a little hung up about it. And it was only after she went to Paris in 1906, and she had gone a couple of times, but in 1906, she went having left him,
Wow.
and he followed her,
Wow.
and they consummated the marriage, and she became pregnant.
Wow.
And then,
What a
so
story. What a
odd,
story.
kind of. The other thing I was going to say about her paintings, though, Simon, is that
Yeah.
many of them reminded me, I mean, given putting her in a time frame, a little bit of Picasso kind of blue or pink period, the eyes, the faces, it's that kind of abstracting
Yeah. Yeah.
the face.
I think you're right. Um, well, the first thing you said is fascinating
Yeah.
and really fascinating. Some of the photographs show her as being, a little matronly, and some of them she's quite attractive and sensual. So I think she's very, very interesting, and she would be a person that should be more well known. And also in terms of young female painters, young women who are involved in the arts,
Right.
it's a compelling story, and she's fascinating, I think. Um, uh, Anyone else want to contribute? Okay, so what?
I am.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
On the biography, yeah, there is a biography out in English. It's titled Being Here is Everything, the life of Paula Modersohn Becker. And the author is Marie Dariussec.
Say the first sentence again.
Being Here is Everything. That's the title of the book.
Yes. Okay. I think I heard of that book. Yeah. In New York at this museum, there is a excellent bookstore. And bookstores in the United States, which have to do with being bookstores in museums, have declined a huge amount in the last 5, 10 years. And more bookstores in museums sell less and less books. I'm sure you've noticed this. They sell less and less books and more Tinker Toys.
Yeah.
Tinker Toys, which are doodads, which accompany
Exhibit.
the exhibit in some way and are very unserious. This museum has an incredible bookstore.
Mhm.
This is a bookstore out of bookstore dreams. This is one of the best bookstores in New York City and in the United States. This is an older idea of a bookstore. It's full of books, and it's full of books that are serious, and the subjects are serious. And the problem with bookstores is that they are run for a profit. Okay, so the profit doesn't come from the books more and more; it comes from the Tinker Toys. Okay, and in this case, I think the leadership of this museum is saying we're not making a profit on the admissions. Let's just keep the books pure and involved and serious. And so I think you could actually go into the museum and not enter the museum, just go into the bookstore. Okay. In some museums, you can't do that because the bookstore is deep in the museum. In this case, you enter the museum, you go to the left, and you're in the bookstore. It's a beautiful bookstore. It's like what years ago bookstores looked like.
Which museum is this?
The Neue Gallery in New York. And you probably missed the very beginning of what I said, but it's a gallery that I visited many times in the last 12, 14 years. And it's the financing for this place comes from Ronald Lauder. And it is a gift to New York. Anyone else? Okay, so I want to remind you.
Well, Simon, one other thing. You probably don't want to leave the Neue Gallery without saying something about the Cafe Sabarsky.
Okay, all right. I would say this.
Yes.
The Cafe Sabarsky is a little pricey, but it's not as pricey as going to Vienna. Okay. So I would go there
Wow.
and get any of the Viennese specialties and imagine that you're not in New York anymore, but you are in Vienna. And any of the Viennese dishes that they have, I would try to order, and you feel like you're in another world. I mean, it's I don't even know what the German word would be drawing a blank, but there's a German word, Gemütlichkeit, pleasant in a sort of upper middle class way. Gemütlichkeit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
so
Yeah,
just-
I have to say that apart from the Vietnamese specialties, the Weisswurst there is just to die for.
Which one?
The Weisswurst.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
Ah,
Okay. So next week we're going to do the exhibit of Egon Schiele. So
Which is at the
if
Neue Gallery.
what?
That's at the Neue Gallery right now.
That's at the Neue Gallery. So um, uh, if you haven't seen that exhibit, I would recommend trying to see it this weekend in terms of my presenting on Wednesday. The last class, I would like you to compare two works of either Frida Kahlo, Paula Becker, or Egon Schiele, either of two works of theirs or one work of one of them and one work of another. I thought to throw in an extra twist in terms of what you write. After you write your essay, um, uh, could you write a sentence after that, which is, I was wondering about, and with these three artists, and then fill in the rest. I was wondering about, and then you have to personalize it and say what. And I'm not sure if I could answer your question, but I'd like to hear what you're wondering about. Uh, so,
Okay.
so that's not a burden, I don't think. Um, um, are you sure everyone went, or would someone like to add? Um, so I went to when I had to go out earlier before these cards came. See this card? Oh, let me go back. Let me
Go
go.
back.
Let me go back to the other stop share. Okay, so this card came, and I sent a lot of you an invitation for this,
Oh,
and
yes.
the card came, and it looks pretty good. So I hope you can go and see this. And uh, again, I would say I enjoyed this very much. I hope that you did, and I will see you next Wednesday. Okay. Take care.
Everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Good
Yep.
night.
Good night. Thanks. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, you too, except, I mean,
Yeah.
by the way, I think one of the drawings I was thinking of was what were there, except somehow or other, I remember them being just black and white, and maybe the lighting on the photograph changed they looked almost sepia-like here,
I
but
think I had pretty much all the drawings.
yeah, I'm sure you did.
I
Well, I'm staring at the
when
last
I
one, but go ahead.
Alan, when I took the class that you were in, I wasn't aware
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of her work.
really.
No, I was aware of Lopez. I was aware of Andrew Wyeth, not her. And
Yeah,
it's just an interesting coincidence that there is a kind of connection. I think, but I wasn't aware of her work at all.
really.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fascinating, and it's great to make a discovery. And the discovery is not just a discovery, it's really good. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
top of the line good. Um, I'm glad you saw it in person. I think it looks much better in person.
Yeah, I just happen to, I'm going back and forth. Right now, I'm actually in Florida, but I came
Oh,
back to vote. And on Saturday, I actually went to see Sheila.
oh, how was that?
Yeah, it was pretty, some of it bizarre, but very interesting. Of course, I remember the days when, we took class with you. And we looked at a lot of drawings and, they're very linear. So I don't remember seeing paintings until now, actually. They're pretty wild, actually.
In this exhibit, were there drawings too?
Yeah, there were drawings also.
And the
Particularly,
drawings
yeah.
were like nudes and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
They're
That's
very small, simple drawings and, typically with, very linear. But the paintings were, I actually wrote a whole bunch of things down as I was looking at them. And, well, we can talk about it next time, but,
and in the paintings, were there paintings besides the landscapes?
yeah, I mean, there were a lot of landscapes, definitely.
Was the painting that is usually there, which shows two lovers? Was
Yeah, that was it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. I
Where
love
he
I love I love that painting.
Yes, that is there,
Yeah,
definitely.
he's terrific, I think.
Yeah.
He fits in right in with all these artists.
Yeah, again, he's another person. I would wonder, if he lived to 60 or 70, what his work would look like. It's very different.
There is a wonderful book on his work by a woman who, I think it's called Egon Schiller's Portraits. I'm all of a sudden drawing a blank on her name. But anyway, it's a wonderful book. And she went to Vienna and interviewed his sisters.
Mhm.
And it's all footnoted and so forth. And the sisters, I think, lived to be more than 90.
Really?
Yeah. So this is like all of the scholarliness of a certain kind of art historian, but applied to someone that she really cared for and really was involved with. And
Right.
she interviews the sisters so many years after he passes away.
Right.
He dies in 1918.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he only lives to be 28.
right.
Um, I'm going to.
His
What?
wife died shortly after him too.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm
And she was
gonna.
pregnant.
I'm gonna see that show on Friday.
Mhm.
I like that museum. I think it something about the art has a kind of pulse to it that I respond to. The work in the museum,
Yeah,
and it really is one of the few times that um, a quite wealthy person has the very good taste and the money to back it up. I mean, these are so expensive to put these exhibits on,
yeah,
and they don't get huge amounts of people looking in there. So my hunch is that it's all run at a loss.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the times I've been there, and even last Saturday, I just walk right in.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a ticket beforehand, and then, yeah, there was a line of about 5 people, but that was it. Inside, well, of course, I guess it opened recently. So there were a fair amount of people, and of course, it was a Saturday. But I'm sure during the week,
Well, look, to buy that building and renovate it and put that either the central staircase through or change the top floor, change other areas, but keep an older part and a newer part. I I mean, we're talking maybe $100 million,
yeah, it could be.
$80 million. I mean, big, big bucks. And then to have all these exhibits, which, I mean, they must cost, I'm gonna guess they must cost a few $1 million to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Each one. Then there's the staff, then there's the
Mhm.
electricity, then there's the insurance. It's pretty striking. And what's the most compelling about it is that the shows are good, really good, very
Yeah.
thought-provoking, involving, and so if I was to meet Mr. Lauder, I would say, thank you. It's a gift to New York. Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, you too.
I just got this card, and I always wonder when I get the cards if they're going to come out and look well. And this looks
That was great.
pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So life continues in its most agitated form here, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Take it easy and send my best regards.
Okay.
All right,
Me
thanks.
too.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.